Welcome back to New York. I'm Brent Musburger along with Irv Cross. And Irv, we have the gentleman, our friend the Greek, who assured us this was going to be one of the lowest scoring games of the year.
You're not kidding. Did you notice what McMahon tried to do at the half? He's trying to uphold me.
Yeah, wasn't that terrible, though, that they couldn't get the ball out of bounds and kick the field goal like John pointed out?
Terrible.
Irv and Jimmy, let's get everybody up to date with the scores and some of the highlights. If you've joined us late, we'll show you exactly what went on in Soldier Field. Here's an interesting game. The Jets leading 14-7 right now. Eason has a touchdown pass for the Patriots in that game. Ryan has one to his friend Wesley Walker. That was 12 yards out. Tony Franklin has missed 2 field goals in that contest for the Patriots. And Buffalo and Indianapolis. Buffalo has just gone ahead 10-7. Good story here. Joe Dufek, the former Yale quarterback, has stepped in to quarterback the Bills for the first time. Joe Ferguson is forced out. That stops his streak right now at 107 starts with that team. And Dufek, in his first appearance, he threw the touchdown pass, and he has them ahead right now, 10-7. Cleveland and Kansas City, tough defensive game. The Browns leading it by a field goal over the Chiefs. And Jimmy said that Miami right now has to be rated as the top team, even better than the Raiders. It's 19-7. They look excellent again. However, there is one note that is really going to affect the Dolphins. Kim Bocamper suffered a broken left ankle at warm-ups prior to the start of this game, and he, of course, is the heart of that defensive front for Don Shula, and they are going to miss him tremendously. Again, it is 19-7. Now, Jan Stenerud has just booted his second field goal in this game, and that cuts Seattle's lead to 7-6, and Craig hit Largent with a touchdown pass. That covered 20 yards in that game. And, of course, a terribly entertaining one you're watching unfold in Soldier Field right now. The difference, Raphael Septien kicking that field goal that had the Cowboys ahead. And here's what happened after this. Jim McMahon will drop back and roll to the right, and John Madden diagrammed how Too Tall Jones crashed in. That left this alley open, and McMahon got into the end zone, 16 yards, and it was 7-3. Now watch Gary Hogeboom in this next sequence. He'll fake a handoff. They'll go outside on the screen to Dorsett. And Tony may have the quickest start of any back in the NFL. Once you give him daylight, he can accelerate. 68 yards for the touchdown. Cowboys regained the lead. Now it was 10-7, and Mike Ditka very unhappy with his defense at that point. But McMahon came right back, and what an afternoon Walter Payton is having. He carried 20 times for 130 yards, and now he is just 92 yards short of the great Jim Brown. Jimmy, you cannot say too much about one Walter Payton.
He's the greatest runner. He's not a halfback. I mean, not just a runner. He's a halfback because he can pass, he can run, he can block. He does everything, and he's a super young man besides.
Would you like to wager a guess as to what is going to happen in the second half, or have you decided?
It's going to be very close in a very low-scoring game.
All right. Irv, this has been kind of a wild year for running backs in general.
Well, a lot of fun plays, Brent. You know, the hot dog artists in the NFL have been told they can't dance on the field this year. So instead, some players are marching to a different drummer and coming up with razzle-dazzle plays that keep things moving at a ragtime beat.
And it's a fake.
The fake is in vogue throughout the NFL this year. The Rams didn't get a kick out of Bengal punter Pat McInerney. Instead, he passed for a long gain. And the Lions dusted off an old favorite, the flea flicker, and caught Minnesota's defense off guard last week. But the real trick is when to resort to these gimmick plays.
I think you got to see a spot to want to use those. You've got to also think that would work for some reason, and then you got to find a place in the game where it fits in. So it is not just something you go out and say, hey, here's a gadget play, let's run it.
You just try to keep your teams off balance, and you put in a trick play here once in a while, but that does add a little bit of extra excitement into a ball game.
Sometimes the trick play artists outsmart themselves instead of their opponents. This giant reverse may have seemed like a good idea at the time, but the result was a Redskin touchdown. And you can be sure that Lion coach Monty Clark didn't enjoy looking at the reruns of this botched-up effort.
Both plays are great as long as they work, and you give them a lot of praise. If they don't work, then you're asking them, what in the world are you trying to do there?
But when they do work, you find new stars at odd positions. Here's Viking quarterback Tommy Kramer receiving a big pass. And forget about that White Hogeboom rivalry in Dallas. The passing star of this Cowboy touchdown was receiver Mike Renfro connecting to Doug Donnelly.
I thought that ball had helium, and it just wouldn't come down, and it doesn't matter how it comes there, though, I guess.
I don't think Danny or Hoagie are worried about my talents, but Steve Pallou, our third-string quarterback, might have a little problem. He might move to 14 this week.
All right, tell you, there are 4 gadget plays running around the league this afternoon, and they all failed miserably. If they don't go well, of course, they backfire on you. Brent, Tony Easton's having a big day.
Absolutely. He says, Irv, if all of those halfbacks are going to throw the ball, I'm going to run it a little bit. And he has just dashed into the end zone from 5 yards out now. The extra point is good. Patriots and the Jets are tied at 14. Of course, Easton is out of Illinois, and yesterday we saw another good Illini quarterback, Jack Trudeau, and his coach, Mike White. And White believes that Trudeau someday will also be a star in the National Football League. And we'll continue here with the NFL Today on CBS after these messages. The National Football League lost an old and dear friend this week when John Facenda passed away in Philadelphia. For 2 decades, Facenda was the voice of NFL films, and it was a voice that left an unmistakable impression on all those who heard it.
And as they say in Tinseltown, roll 'em.
John was a pioneer in television news starting in 1948. He anchored and reported for WCAU-TV in Philadelphia until he left on a typically cheerful note in 1973.
Be happy for me, because I am content.
But John did not leave broadcasting. His voice still carried into the homes of football fans. It was a voice you could not forget.
Commitment to excellence, the motto of the race.
We would get letters here at NFL Films, the voice of God, or the voice of doom, or the retreat from Dunkirk voice. People had so many different, they didn't know his name, but they knew the voice. The sound of his voice is as much a part of the National Football League as the roar of the crowd and the crunch of helmets and pads.
And the legend lives on. I'm John Facenda.
Irv, you, of course, knew John very well over in Philadelphia. Was he a big fan of the Eagles?
Well, he's a big Eagle fan, and, of course, one of the most gentle people to ever want to meet. We're going to miss him.
He'll really be missed, won't he? All right. Irv, we do have an update right now from around the league. We have one more score that just occurred. The St. Louis Cardinals on a touchdown pass from Neil Lomax, 22 yards to Marsh, and now they have pulled to within 5 points of the Dolphins. It is now 19-14 there in the second quarter. I'll send you back to Soldier Field right now, and here's Pat Summerall and John Madden. Pat?
All right, Brent, the situation here is the Cowboys lead the Bears 17-14. Just to add to that tribute to John Facenda, I knew him quite well, John, and he did the highlight films. Almost all the teams, including your Oakland Raiders, requested that he do the highlight films. They just wouldn't let anybody else do it.
That's what we said. You know, they had different producers and writers and directors, but Al Davis always said one thing: we always want the voice of John Facenda.
So we send our condolences along with everybody else. John, let's get back to what's going on here at Soldier Field. The Bears let the clock run out, a chance to tie the game just before the end of the first half.
Right, the Bears really played very well in the first half. They did everything to at least be tied. Bob Thomas missed one field goal. Then at the half, I really felt that they didn't do a good job there, that maybe running the first one to Peyton was okay, but I think they had a pass on second down. And then on that third down, if you're going to throw the ball, you have to get it out of bounds or in the end zone. You can't complete a pass and then let the clock run out.
It's 17-14 Cowboys, and if the first half is any indication, we're in for a great second half of football here at Soldier Field.